Hi, and welcome to episode 4 of Breaking, Building, and Belonging, a Better Together story and guide. The last episode was Mosquitoes, Miseries, and Mindsets, and that's what we call our character-driven chapters. And character portraits is really what I'm thinking of them as. And after each one of those, I'm going to be giving you some thought leadership ideas that I've learned over the years from various real life and virtual mentors. And so this one's called Reflections on Reality, Mosquitoes, Miseries, and Mindsets. Your brain is waiting for you each day. It's waiting to be told what to think. It's waiting to see what kind of soundtracks you'll choose. It's waiting to see if you really want to build a different life. Jon Acuff. As a teen, a fixed mindset and that voice in my head, what I called Sergeant Stunod, was my primary rival. And just real quick, Stunod is a Brooklyn Italian slang for stupid. So that's why I named him Sergeant Stunod. This negative voice, or chatterbox, magnified my mental miseries. I had to replace this voice with one that built me up. My grandmother, I call her Gram, you're going to hear about her in a later chapter. She would call those stuck in these mindsets situations poor Pearl, as I mentioned. Often it's not what people are saying, but your readiness to listen and act. So, reflecting on what could have been done differently is helpful. As a kid under extreme duress, I did my best with the tools I had. My surroundings programmed me, and I had to develop a sense of agency. And so I'm not going to go deep into the what I could have done differently in this particular chapter because that was a particularly rough moment that I share with you in Mosquitoes, Miseries, and Mindsets. And I even got some advice from a friend not to be too tough on myself on that one. But how do we build on reality? How do we take this thought leadership advice and turn it into something we can really work with? And so Jon Acuff refers to the voice and repeating phrases in our minds as soundtracks, like we talked about. And he has a book called Soundtracks. He reminds us that we can choose which soundtrack we play at any time. And so here are some key steps. Identify the soundtrack. Recognize the negative or broken soundtracks playing in your mind. Shift your focus. Move your creativity away from dwelling on problems and onto the fix. Change the narrative. Replace the negative soundtrack with a positive fix-related one. So here are some example soundtracks. Let's say that you're somebody in school. I'll never make it through middle school history, let alone have a career in life someday. What could you say instead? What could be a helpful soundtrack? Something simple, something like, when I feel stuck, wise friends change my luck. So maybe your goal is going to be to try to find people to help you out so that you don't feel so stuck in class. Maybe you need some study buddies or some friends. And when we talk in the next chapter, you'll hear about a friend of mine that helped me in my middle school days. What if it's a job stress kind of a thing? A bad soundtrack around that. I cannot handle the demands of this new position and my relentless new client. I'm going to quit. Well, what if you switch that around? What if you said, today I'm going to focus on getting 1% better at my job? There's a very wise other leader called James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. And he says that if you get 1% better at your job every day, before you know it, you're going to be 100% better at your job in 100 days. So that's a good one. Today I will get 1% better at my job. Get that on repeat in your head. Replace the bad soundtrack. How about one for rest and busyness? I had a friend that recently I worked with her on this one. How about if rest feels like stress to me because busyness is my drug, is your bad soundtrack? What if instead you said, and this is a person of faith, what if instead she said, rest is the medicine God has prescribed for me? So, to release your kernel of truth, you need to decide to change your negative soundtracks and focus on solutions. Start immediately. Lay the first stone on the path to your new reality. Do that by identifying what the stickiest bad soundtrack is and coming up with a good new one that has a fix. Hope this captures any needs that you might have, but feel free to be creative if you haven't had one. And if you need to DM me and ask for help with one, a new soundtrack, I'm glad to help. Leave a comment, reach out to me on one of my social media platforms, and let's get through this together. I want to see you soar. Thanks for listening.